Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight was a little bit ago. And anyway, and not very long, put it that way. So anyway, I love you so much. Whoops, Starlight's got to get adjusted here. And I hope you are all, using positive thoughts, because it's so important to be positive, think positive, because you create your reality. So think about what you think, and if it's not a positive thought, you're going to want to replace it with one. So anyway, I love you. And also, before I start this video, and anyone that would love to send any love donations, you can through my Cash App, and I will have that information here. Ping, there it is. And today is how do you know that you're with the right one? Is he the right one? Is he the right one? Or is she the right one? But that is what this video is about. Is, are you with the right one? And how do you know if you're with the right one? Well, there's a lot on that topic. And so on that is that, how long have you been with each other, and how did you start? And, there's many times Starlight's been there, where you went too fast and, well, Starlight doesn't do that anymore. As I mentioned on many of my videos, is I have not been with a man since 2018, and so even way back then, people are in such a rush. They're hurry, and that is one thing. Is I don't know if you got a friend out there, guys. Maybe you got a female, that you're thinking about, or women there's a man out there, you're not friends yet, and this is kind of really what you want to, if you're single now, this is really a good thing to do, is not to be in a rush, number one, with, being with someone, that means it's not going to last that long because, you were in a rush. Just kidding. Never know. There's relationships out there that could last a long time. And even though they rushed into the relationship, but, are you happy? Are you going in the same direction? So that is so important. You really want to get to know as much as you can about that person, and you really want to go turtle speed, as far as you want to, as far as getting with that one. But are they the right one? If you're already in a relationship, you're living together, or you're in a relationship and you're not living together, because some people, they're not, they're in a rush to get in a relationship. But, for some reason or another, they haven't actually moved in with each other, and more than likely they're not married yet. So that actually says a lot right there. Is there's people that they rush in, they get what they want, but then they take their time about moving with each other. So a lot of people do things backwards as far as relationships go, and bam, 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 bam. Starlight has definitely done that, been there. I don't have the t-shirt on that, but definitely I've done things backwards. And but hey, you know what? Those were all lessons, what not to do. So some people, haven't learned that lesson yet, is to, there's risk out there in the world that we do take, but is the one that you're with the right one? How well do you know them? And a lot of people, they want to jump and say, you're my friend, and that is something that you got to really, I've met people, where if I did something good to help somebody out, bam, you're my friend. No, it doesn't mean that I'm your friend. It means I'm a sweet person and I like to help people out. It has nothing to do with friendship. It just means that, there's somebody could help me out. it doesn't mean that we're friends. And that's what you got to watch out for. And you really do want to take a long time to really, not be in a rush to get to know the person. And ask. I mean, even if you got to write a list of things on a piece of paper. Hang on, Starlight's got to pull back here a little bit more. Make a list of questions, have a small little notebook, or maybe a big notebook, or whatever. How many questions are we going to ask? Or a piece of paper, a couple piece of paper, or have it somewhere where you can, you don't have to ask these all in one day. You don't want to overwhelm these people, but have that list, and anytime like a new thought, because a lot of times people forget what they want to ask, and it could be really important. So, people made a joke about this at the church, is to, like a job application, and it wouldn't, I bet you they do have those online as like a relationship application, but you can even create your own application, have them fill out an application. So you don't tell them anything, and just let them, that way you're going to get, if they don't really know anything about you, and you're just dating, or not even dating, but you're really, you're just kind of getting to know each other, is you didn't tell them very much, because you're just new. You could have this whole cool application for relationships, and see how well they score on it. Give them a score, like what score did they get on that, that application? Are they even worth even having to be a friend? Because it's good to find out if they can even be your friend before you take it to the, to the next level. But many people in this world actually jump from not knowing each other at all, or they could have known each other a long time ago. And yeah, everything was cool way back then, but guess what? Everybody changes. Well, there's some people actually might not really change that much. They might actually don't want to change, So that is what you gotta really know. How well do you know these people? And like I said, the application thing it wouldn't be a bad idea. I wouldn't doubt that there's an application out there, because I've seen crazy ass forms out there that Starlight actually almost signed her name to. Whoa. No, I'm sorry. I really can't sign that form. I would have been, like signing my soul away, so I'm good with that form. But, you really got to know who you are. And do you even know who you are? You don't even know who you are. Some people, they think they know who they are. So how are you going to find the right one that's meant for you if you don't even know who you are? What are your plans for the future? Where do you see yourself? Do you even have anything figured out as far as where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 20 years? It's really good and really important to really have a visual as far as, that's how we create things in our reality, is by having a plan. Number one is, where do you see yourself? And as far as relationships go, is like we're starting off slow here, is so if you know yourself, or you think you know yourself, have you been working on yourself as far as getting healed? And this is really important as far as relationships go, friendships, or even serious relationships, when you want to have a romantic, long-term, life-term, relationship. So, what are your plans, and do you know yourself? And how do you see yourself later on? Is that you got to really think of these things. Who are you? And a lot of people, they don't know who they are. They think they know who they are. You need to, are you healed from past traumas? Have you worked on yourself? Have you done the inner work? Have they done the inner work? So do you have anything in common? Number one, I've been on dating apps where, men wanted to get involved with me. You know what? We didn't have shit in common. I don't know how many times I wrote to men on dating. I took my time. I took hours, freaking every day on the computer, taking this serious, But you know what? I had to there was a lot of weeds, lots of weeds, overgrown with weeds, and Starlight wasn't taking it. I'm like, no, 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 no. That's what it was like on a dating app for Starlight, you know. It was the same people that was there, you know, like 10 years ago, you know, still there. I wasn't there all that time, but I'm like, oh my, this person, I've seen that person. I'm kind of over exaggerating here on this, but really a lot of them were the same ones that but they changed their profile around, the picture, they grew, they changed, they didn't look the same, the name, everything changed, so it took me a while. I'm like, oh my, this is that person. Yeah. So, you really gotta know, if they've been healed, because if they haven't been healed and they haven't been doing the inner work, guess what? They're going to bring a lot of that, a lot of, baggage with them. And a lot of people are, before they get together, it's kind of funny. They're scratching their head. They know everything about themselves, as far as what kind of baggage they are bringing into a relationship, because I believe everybody's got some kind of baggage, that they're bringing into a relationship. Some people want to claim that they don't have any baggage at all. So, so all of us are going to, more than likely have some kind of, baggage to be carrying in a relationship. Even if you've done the work, there's going to be some kind of, things, about each other that it's really important to get to know each other thoroughly, really get to know this person. And if you really don't know this person, you might want to take things to the next level, is that you really need to, there's some things you want to jump into, but relationships and having babies, absolutely not. Those are, it's good to be quick to go and talk to somebody and say, hey, I would like to get to know you more. Are you seeing any, actually first, are you seeing anyone? Would you be, and guys, I'm not going to really say a whole lot on this, because I really want to focus more on if they are the one or not. But, you want to take things slow, and you really want to do your homework on who they are. Get to, if you are getting to know each other, and, or, you thought about getting to meet their family or friends, a lot of people, it's hard to say when people do that, because everybody's different. Some people might have, they might not even be living with each other, and they might have quickly got into stuff, and started having sex right away. And, before you know it, it might take, everybody's different as far as when they're going to get to know their family. It's so important to get to know their family, because you want to get to know the mom and dad. Is it the real mom? Is it the real dad? Because you can learn a lot about those people as far as what you're getting yourself into. And not all the time is how the parents are, is how the kids are, because you're going to outgrow that. But there's things that parents are a certain way, that the adults actually kind of pick those things up without even not being aware of it. So, so you got to really get to know their family. Ask their, talk to their family, find out, are they being honest with their family? And that's what I told my son. Are they an honest person? It's so important. Honesty is so freaking important. That should be the top of the list of what is important as far as getting to know someone. And if they're not really being an honest person, you really are you might want to, you got to communicate with these people about, you can't. Starlight I'm a Virgo, and I've been learning about myself as far as a Virgo. A lot of times I never brought things up. I just would put it on the back burner and just put it in my files, put all this stuff, all the negative things that I was learning about a person, and put it in a file, save it, like a computer, we got the junk file, that's a junk file there, just saving all that important information, the things that they told you, always listen to these people when they talk. This is not the time to be freaking with your phone and talking to, that's a good sign right there. Whether you think that's the kind of person that you want to have a relationship with, they can't even focus on talking to you, as they got to be a good listener and a good talker and a communicator. People can learn to be better communicators. So I'm not saying if they're not good at communicating, it's something that are you willing to teach them how to be a good communicator? And on top of that, are you a good communicator? So it's so important as far as all this stuff goes. And what I learned in my past is I'm a submissive, and you really wouldn't want to get lined up with another person that's submissive. I really want to, if you're a submissive person and they're a submissive person, I really believe you're going to have a lot of battles and struggles in that relationship. And just like if you're both dominant, you are definitely going to have your hands full, in that relationship. Bam! I'm going to say, if you both are dominant people, we all should have the dominant and the feminine in us, a balancing, act there, because a lot of people are overbalanced, unbalanced in that area. But you really want to be with somebody that, if you're a dominant male, to have like somebody that's more on the submissive side, because that way you're gonna really help out in the relationship. You really don't want two dominants together, because it could end up being a war later on. What are their future plans about? Like, where do they see themselves 10 years later? What are their plans and your plans? Are they gonna, like come together? Or they got, it's really, a lot of people don't even think about these things. I didn't. What are your plans for your future? Do they want kids? Do they have kids? Do you have kids? I'll tell you what, kids can actually separate couples if you don't do things wisely as far as bringing up kids. And if they're from mixed families, like you got step parents involved and step kids involved, I'll tell you what, you better really know what you're getting yourself into when it comes to having step parents or step children. Because it's not just about getting to know her and getting to know him. It's about getting to know those children too, because I'll tell you what, it takes one rotten apple to spoil the whole. And I'll tell you what, because everybody does things differently as far as a couple goes, as far as relationship goes. But a lot of relationships, they let their kids know so much about what the relationship's about. And you don't want the kids to know, if you are having a rocky relationship, you really need to put be adults and discuss things in a private room, in a private setting. One of the worst things you could do is to argue in front of your kids and fight in front of your kids, because now those kids are not stupid. They can use that against you later on in such different ways, and it's not even funny. They will play the field with both of you, and they might even try to cause problems in that relationship if they don't like the new partner that you're with, as far as the daddy figure or the mommy figure. So and even with the other kids, it's a big, you really got to really think twice about that. And I could talk forever on that topic with with mixed families and stuff like that. And so I want to stay focused on just, are they the ones? Are they the one? So do you have anything in common? Are you the outdoors type and she's the stay-at-home type? Sorry, but I really don't see that work. I mean, there's people that make that work, but aren't you together for a reason? Like, I would spend all my time outside. There's no freaking way I would get with a man that is a house person. I want to get out in nature as much as possible. So that man that, I would get involved with is a man that loves to be out in nature a lot. I love animals. Well, the man that I am with loves animals, cares about animals. you really need to know, these things are important. You want a pet, they don't want a pet. You want kids, they don't want kids. These are things that you really need to ask yourself, are they the right ones? A lot of times people get their heads so wrapped up in either money, because somebody's got a lot of money, they want to go with this person. But you know what? The shoe freaking doesn't fit. But they want that money. They want what they have. The house, the car, maybe they have a lot of income coming in. They'll see that, but not even, really get to know the person, really well. And when it comes to, emotions, what kind of person is this? You got to really think of, are they stable? Have they been working on themselves? Are they working on themselves? Now, if you go with somebody and they're laid back and you're always the one running around and working on yourselves and doing this and doing that, and they're the kind of chilled out, and you're going to have problems down the road with that, because I know I would. If somebody is wasting all their time, doing things that are not helping them to become their greatest version or be the change that they want to see in the world, and they're wasting their time, they're not even educating themselves on anything that they're doing, it would not work. It would definitely not work with Starlight. I'm like, sorry, but this is absolutely, you need to know what do they do. Ask them, hey, what do you do all day? What do you do when you wake up? What do you do when, in the middle of the day? What kind of food do you eat? It's so important. Food is so important as far as a relationship goes. And a lot of people don't really think that is important, but it's more important than you think, because if there's one person that's really working on their diet and working on all this stuff, and the other person eats everything and anything, well, you're going to have problems as far as food goes. And, you're going to trip each other up. Most of the time, it's easier for people to fall back than for them to step it up, to raise the bar up, and actually work on themselves. And, I've been around a lot of people, and where, hang on, I got to roll my window up really quick, where I've been around a lot of people where, I quit marijuana. You know what they try to get me to do? They try to get me to smoke marijuana. There's people that you might not want to drink anymore, and then they're, do they smoke? Do you want to be around? Starlight's like, absolutely not. I'm not going to be with a person that smokes cigarettes or does drugs or alcohol. Absolutely not. It's an end deal right there. Bye. See you later. It was great getting to know you, but you know what? We're not going in the same direction at all. We have nothing in common, because I've worked so hard to get to where I am. So if you are with somebody and, you drink and they don't, you got to figure this out. You could take, I'm not here to tell you what to do. You got to figure that out. Is it and I'll tell you what, a lot of people, what they do, they get wrapped up in stuff that don't freaking matter. And, there's people that get wrapped up in, hey, they make a lot of money. Or, wow, they're sexy. I'm with a guy, or, a guy that's really handsome and a girl that's really sexy, and maybe she's popular, maybe she's out there on social media, maybe he's out on social media, and they're they're popular people, high class people. And there's people that will get with people just because they're a high class person, or they wear fancy clothes, and they come from a really important family, or they got a beautiful house, or here we go, another one. They've already been having sex, and the sex is so damn good. They were just like, wow. So a lot of people are, like a scales, you got the, I don't have any, trying to see what I have here, but yeah, you got scales. So a lot of times we're kind of like, balancing things out as far as, hey, should I, is that the one for me? Should I go with her, and kind of like balancing everything else. Well, the negatives and the positives, and it's good to do these things, is the things that you liked about the person and things that you don't like, and say, okay, these things I don't like about this person, it doesn't align with me. It doesn't, you really got to know what are you going to deal with, and you really want a perfect fit, really, not that they are perfect, but you want where everything is flowing, not that it's a struggle to actually make it work. And how about sports? How about your health? As far as health goes, like we had talked about food, if you're that person that's eating healthy and they're eating junk food, you're really going to want to it's going to be really difficult to go out anywhere and eat, and watch them. And it could be a problem later on down the road, because you'd be like, wow, and you might get tempted to go backwards in that kind of eating lifestyle. And so you really got to think about that. As far as, health goes, as far as exercise, are you, because don't you want to be with that person for the rest of your life? If you're a real athletic person, that you're going out hiking, getting out in nature, and they're a stay-at-home person, they don't even want to go take a walk, in the neighborhood. They don't even want to go anywhere to take a walk. How's that really, why are you getting together? Isn't it about spending time with each other? Because bam, that is starlight. I want to spend time with the person that I want to be with, as I want to be with a person. I've been single for a long time. The whole reason why I want to get in a relationship is to be in their presence with them as much as possible. Not that I got to be up their ass, but that's I've spent a long time with myself, and I love my own company. But isn't that the reason why you want to get with somebody, so you're not, going out hiking by yourself, not going out and doing sports? Wouldn't it be great to have somebody to do those with you? So you got to really make up your mind, is it going to, it's going to cause a problem, because, you're always going to go out and do things, do you like to go out to eat? Do they like to go out to eat? Do you like to eat at home? You got to understand all these, really know these things inside and out. How's their health? Do they have any serious health issues? Is there something that they have wrong with them, that, it could be a problem for you? It might, you really got to be honest. It's not about breaking people's hearts by saying, hey, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work because, their health is not that great. You got to be honest and real. It's not the thing that say, hey, we had sex, but now I'm finding out, and this is why you want to take things slow. Find out about all this stuff. Take your time. Don't be in a rush to be hurrying up being friends so you can get to the next base, like, oh yeah, we're friends now. Boy, that was quick. How long was that, Because you want to take things slow. It's so important. Like, what is your plans? Do you want to have kids? Do they want to have kids? How many kids? Do they want to stay at home to be a mom? The women, does the woman want to stay home and be a mom? You got to find these things out. Does she want to have kids? Does he want to have kids? What is the whole reason of having the kids? Is it to send them off at the public school or the church school? Or is it to be, a full-time parents, like at least one of the parents to be home? Most of the time it would be the mom staying at home, to stay with the kids. But, you got to figure these things out. Do they want to have kids? And why do they want to have kids? Is it to drop them off at the school? Or is it that they want to bring them up in a safe environment at their house and bring them up and teach them everything that they can? And also, what are your beliefs? You got to know what your beliefs are. I'll tell you what, you're going to have a big, huge problem as far as, like, do you believe in God? Because it says in the Bible not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers, So if you're somebody that believes in God, God's like, you really don't want to go with somebody that doesn't. You believe in God, but they don't. How's that going to work? It'd be like God and the devil hanging out and having some time together, You're going to have some problems there as far as a relationship goes. And now, okay, you both believe in God, okay? This is another thing that you got to really, know. because it's going to bring problems in a relationship, one way or another. Is, what do you believe? Do you go to church? Do they go to church? Because, in the beginning, everything's like, yeah, we put our guard down and really don't think how serious it is, as far as like, hey, we both believe in God, but you have different backgrounds. You go to 2 different kind of churches. How's that going to work? Because a lot of times churches will try to control and try to get people all the same, believe the same. And, so relationships can really be rocky when you're not even, going to the same kind of church, and you don't even believe in the same stuff. There's, if you're really serious about your, relationship with God or whatever, and what if they were religious and you're spiritual, and now you're trying to get together and think that you're going to put this together? You got to be careful. It could end up breaking up the whole relationship later on down the road, and that might not even get very far, because there's a lot of people that give me a hard time, as far as people that go to church and being spiritual. I have a relationship with God, but a lot of people that I've met on this journey are always telling me, what I should do and what I'm not supposed to do, and it's none of their business. That's why I have my free will to decide on what I want to do. So you got to really be careful about what people are going to force feed you, and and you can let people know, but you got to really know what you want. Are they going in the same path? Like I said, are they going the same direction? And it's good to get to know their family and friends, because their family and friends a lot of times will rat them out. They will rat them out. They will say stuff and you'll be like, I didn't know that. They bring up stuff. You never told me that. So you don't want to rush into any of this stuff, because do you want to start all over again and, like it be another lesson? Because you'll find out. Because I'm not here to tell you what you got to do or what's right for you. Do they want to get married later on? That's a good thing to know. Well, we've been together all this time. I thought we were going to get married. No, I don't want to get married. What? All this time. It's been my dream my whole life. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a dog in the house. I wanted a cat at home. I want kids. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to go out hiking. I want to eat healthy. What music do you listen to? That's another one. Music. Do you listen to the same kind of music? Or what do you watch on TV? Do you watch, because that can be a battle in the house, with people. They can't even, agree to watch the same thing on the TV, and what are you watching TV in a separate room? Oh, hey, it's your thing. That's your thing. I can't tell you what to do. So these are good pointers here as far as, are they the one? You like going out. They don't. You want to do sports. They don't want nothing to do with sports. You want to clean up your life. They have no interest in doing that. They want to eat junk food. They want to go, go at the bar, and you already gave that all up. You gotta really, a lot of people on dating apps weren't freaking, hey, you look amazing. You know what? There's more about the outward beauty, it's more about this. Don't let people, take you for a ride because, they just think that, wow, you're sexy, Starlight. Well, you know what? There's more than what meets the eye here. You want to get to know them inside out, not outside in, and if they're the ones, women, guys, test them out. You know what? We're not going to have sex. I want to get to know who you are inside and out. I want to find out about you first. I want to get to know you. I want to hear about your childhood. I want to hear about how you were brought up. I want to hear these stories. I want to hear how your relationships were. What? Yeah. I want to hear what happened. How come you broke up with them? What, like, how did you react? I want to hear about these things. A lot of people don't want to hear about this stuff because it's hard, right? But it's good to know, because you know what? You want to know where you're getting yourself into. and especially when you want to have children, you know, did they come from an abusive family? And it doesn't mean that they're an abusive person. They could have learned lessons from being an abusive family. So anyway, those are just some tips as far as, are they the right one? Those are some serious things, and I think I did pretty good as far as and you always want to check out, and I know some of the people might be throwing stones, is check out your astrology signs. You know, like, are you, you know, compatible? Would you be a great couple with that person that you're thinking about being with? You know, is there, you know, and also with wanting to have kids, find out with a doctor, are we a good blood type to be able to have kids together? You know, are you looking for a short-term relationship or a lifelong time relationship? That's important. So you got to find all these things out, you know, before, you know, if you're thinking about getting married, these things you want to check, you know, hey, you know, I guess this ain't going to work, you know, because, man, you know, I'm in for the long haul. It's no freaking quickie here. No way. It's now all the way until God takes me home. That's this kind of relationship with my ass, you know, for the long haul. Are they a person that falls apart all the time emotionally, and they're not, you know, they don't push themselves to go further? You know, you want to get with somebody that can deal with shit. You know, test these people out. Find out, you know, if you don't answer the phone all the time, are they going to get upset and scream and yell at you all the time? Are they a person that yells and fights? Are they a person that yells and screams and wants to have arguments all the time? These are also other things. How are they with the communication skills? I mean, this video could be hours long because there's so many things in here, but these are really important. Is you know, test these people out. Test the women out, test the men, you know, find out what their weak areas are. And, you know, you got to be honest with them, but you can test, you know, test them out. There's no problem with doing that. It's really important to do that. Is, you know, just because they call you on the phone, ignore the phone call, you know. You know, see how they're going to react and respond to when you're not always there, when they think you're going to be there. Test them out. Because I tell you what, I've been tested. And it actually helped me to let go of those old ways of who I was, you know, and it helped me to be a new version of myself by being tested repeatedly in this relationship, you know, that I've been in. So I, just like the universe does this a lot with us, is to test us. So test those people out. They say they're real. They say they're honest. We'll test them out. I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.